5.
Curry hits a three.
4.
Just on the drive. Deep left field.
3.
Patrick hit by Watt. Sack number 10.
2.
Messi with a record-breaking goal.
1.
Welcome to BSS Sports. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Trevor.
Good afternoon, good evening. It is Tuesday. Normally we're on Monday, but of course with this, a little bit of a holiday that we have in Canada, we decided to put it on for you today. My name is Steven Schill with the other co-host in the studio, Trevor Struthers, being the lovely, handsome gentleman that he is. And we got to talk about this whole Colin Kaepernick thing because it's still in the news. A lot of people are saying, oh, this is dumb. Why is this still going on? There's a lot of different points to prove with it. One of them was saying that, how can you make fun of Colin Kaepernick when the league itself has a team called the Redskins, which does make a point about the reason why he's kind of, not per se respecting the national anthem or not, saying that it's a good thing. Trevor, do you think this is going to be what brings back the Redskins thing? Do you think this is going to force Washington to change their name, or is this just more of a, media frenzy for the NFL?
The Redskins thing will never fully actually go away, I believe anyway, until there's a team name change or something. And, that's just the fact of the matter. The amazing thing is that, maybe it's because of how big football is, and I'm going to take it off Colin Kaepernick here for a sec, but football's so big, obviously, in America, and even baseball is to an extent. But you don't hear many, and it's not a team name that we're talking about, but you don't hear many people complain about, and I'm not going to talk about the Indians, but rather the Braves and their tomahawk chop. That's kind of racist. But, if you do want to talk about a team name in baseball, the Cleveland Indians, and they have that red Indian logo. And that can be taken also as racist. And so, you're walking a fine line. Some people will tell you that we're being overly sensitive. I don't think of it as being overly sensitive as much as it is just caring, especially now in the 21st century. We're a lot more, interracial, Canada and the United States. We welcome different races. We welcome different cultures. To a further extent, I don't know how that's going to change with this upcoming election in the States, but and I can see how people could be offended by certain team names in the United States. And bringing it back to the Colin Kaepernick thing, there's more people doing this now. There's been a couple others in the NFL preseason to do what Kaepernick did.
It's not just the NFL, too. It's other sports.
Megan Rapinoe, I heard yesterday, she actually did the same thing. And I don't know if that name would ring a bell to anybody, but she was on the U.S. National soccer team at the past Olympics. And so she does have a bit of a following down in the States, not so much here in Canada. But yeah, so people down in the States there's certain athletes taking a stand. And maybe this leads to something. Who knows?
Well, it's one of the things that she said, and it was like, okay, since Colin Kaepernick have done this, the amount of backlash and hate on him is the point that he's trying to prove, that there's all this, discrimination against this and that, and it's not kind of necessarily acceptable in this day and age, and it's not, but, they're kind of highlighting it on, a national stage kind of thing, because there's not other things, sure, there's bands, there's this, there's that, but the NFL is the biggest thing in North America, specifically the United States, and if one player can do this, then I guess that's what's going on. And another thing that's kind of strange about this whole situation, or I guess it's not really strange if you think about it, but Colin Kaepernick's jersey sales have gone from very minimal, from an awful season, to being the league leader. He's surpassing borderline records right now for the amount of jersey sales. So, to an extent, there's people that agree with him, and a lot of them.
And while we're on the topic, too, of Kaepernick jerseys, why are people burning Kaepernick jerseys? I can understand you not liking what he's doing and not wanting his jersey anymore. He's still on the 49ers for the time being. Try to sell that thing. Don't burn it. That's a waste of money. I don't know if you bought it for, we don't, I'm sure they don't have Value Village in the States, but if you bought it at, Value Village for $20, go ahead. But, if you bought an authentic jersey, and these probably aren't authentic jerseys that they're burning, don't burn the thing. That's just stupid.
If you disagree with somebody, don't let them take advantage of you, and then you have to buy another jersey. Just sell it and then make money off them. That's a fantastic point, Trevor. Keeping with the NFL news. So last week we talked about Tony Romo and the continual injuries that he has. Mark Sanchez of the Broncos has been cut. The Dallas Cowboys picked him up. Previously, Mark Sanchez was with the Jets, and that kind of went wishy-washy. It was an okay season, not the greatest, but Dallas, for all intents and purposes, has their quarterback. With Philadelphia, they decided to get rid of Sam Bradford and make Carson Wentz their number one quarterback, which was kind of somewhat expected because for some reason people didn't like Sam Bradford, and that's what happened now. But like, I guess with all these trades and things going on with the different quarterbacks, does it highlight the fact that like the quarterbacks are the most prevalent position in the NFL? Because like, the way that it's working is Johnny Manziel, right? We gotta think of Johnny Manziel. The Cleveland drafted him because they thought he was going to be their savior. He's the Heisman Trophy winner, everything like that. Things didn't work off. Geoff Goff, I forget what the heck his name is. The Los Angeles Rams drafted him, and then Carson Wentz this year, and then last year we saw Teddy Bridgewater, who ended up being injured this year for the Vikings, and now that's a whole scene. And it seems that everybody is relying on these quarterbacks. Is it an undeniable question that the quarterback is the most important position in the NFL? I know it's a basic, and you think you know the answer, but Trevor, do you think it is the most prevalent position?
Well, I'm going to counter your question with another question. If it isn't, what is?
The punter. The punter is always the most important person.
That's the joke. An interesting thing is, though, going back to the Cowboys thing with bringing in Mark Sanchez, first off, that's going to be a show if he ends up being the starter. That's going to be like we thought Tony Romo being a franchise quarterback in Dallas would be something. How about, Mr. Butt Fumble Mark Sanchez being a quarterback in a market like Dallas? The interesting thing will be, who is that number one quarterback? Will it be Dak Prescott or will it be Mark Sanchez? But I feel like Mark's going to get his opportunity until Tony Romo comes back. I don't know what the numbers were on the contract that they signed him to. I'm sure it wasn't that solid. And Dak Prescott, I don't think he had that bad of a preseason, if I remember correctly. So, and it was recent, so I should remember correctly. So, I mean, maybe it's Dak. I mean, I don't know when the preseason. I think is done, right? So yeah, so the preseason's done now. So it'll be interesting, see who they go with because they haven't really had the chance to see Mark Sanchez in game action with that offense.
Now, the main reason for bringing up quarterbacks here is because the good old Tom Brady and Julian Edelman is he's quite the character. We all know after the Super Bowl the thing of him, meeting up with some younger personnel. But the thing with this, Julian Edelman talking about Brady's suspension, quotes like one of your buddies going to jail. That is what it's like not having Tom Brady. Julian Edelman, ladies and gentlemen. What a stupid thing to say. Like, it's the NFL. There's tons of players going to jail all the time. I don't know if this is his way of kind of, highlighting, hey, half the team goes into jail. Aaron Hernandez, number one right there. Why would he say that?
I don't know. To be completely honest, I don't know why you would say something like that. Do you ever want to really bring that up? That seems to be a bad stereotype for NFL players, and to have an NFL player kind of bring up that. I mean, I feel like you kind of lean yeah. I mean that's just strange. In my opinion.
Yeah, you're giving me the perfect response right now because when I read that, I was kind of speechless.
I am kind of speechless. Exactly. That's the thing. But a question I do have for you, because I don't know the answer to this. Who's the backup quarterback for the Patriots?
Oh, I thought it was Jimmy Garoppolo, but I thought they traded him a while ago, so I'm not entirely sure who the Patriots... I think the Patriots as a whole are going to be fine if they don't have Tom Brady for a couple of games.
They have a solid offense around Tom Brady, exactly. But the thing is, there's no more important player than the quarterback. The quarterback controls the offense entirely. I mean, you can only rely on a running back for so long, right? So he's going to have to throw the football, and it'd be interesting to see how he throws the football. He's not going to be anywhere near as good as Tom Brady. And, I mean, this might be your opportunity to beat the Patriots if you get them early on while Brady's out.
Okay, let's go, Blue Jays. I forget the name, but if you've never been to a Blue Jays game, the 7th inning stretch is quite the show.
Steve, it's called OK Blue Jays,
okay.
Which you said 3 times when singing the song.
Thank you, Trevor. It's probably on, go on YouTube, you'll find it.
Okay, Blue Jays, let's play ball.
Now, the Blue Jays are half a game ahead of the Boston Red Sox. It's kind of weird to see that the Red Sox have been doing this thing, not every year, but it seems to go from the bottom of the American League East to the top of it. Currently, the Blue Jays are that, but Boston seems to have this trend. Baltimore is behind them, and then the New York Yankees, and then there's no way that Tampa is doing anything. So basically, it's a three-horse race right now, with the Yankees being the furthest away at 5.5 games. We're approaching October, which means we're really getting into the whole baseball playoffs. And I'm not really nervous about the Blue Jays, but before we talk about like the Blue Jays in general, I want to think ahead here. If the Blue Jays, let's say, don't make the playoffs, they don't get the wild card, what happens with John Gibbons? What happens with Jose Bautista and Edwin Encarnacion?
What happens with John Gibbons is a great question, mainly because of the management change that we had. I mean, obviously, Alex Anthopoulos is gone. That's the guy that brought John Gibbons back. And so, I mean, obviously, he liked Gibby, much to the fans, despise. But, yeah, so we don't really know what this management thinks of John Gibbons. They just, they've kept him around. So that'll be interesting, to see how that plays out. Personally, I keep Gibby around. I like John Gibbons. Many people seem to think that he's not very smart. I think he's kind of playing that up a little bit. He doesn't want you to think he's very smart. He's got that Texas twang, which he uses to his advantage. But, I mean, that's the big thing. What happens to John Gibbons if this team misses the playoffs? But obviously on the field as well. I mean, what happens with Jose Bautista and Edwin Encarnacion? I'm going to go on record and say if they're lucky, obviously they'll get like one guy out of the two of them, whether they win the World Series or miss the playoffs, because both these guys are going to get massive contracts. And Boston, if David Ortiz does officially retire at the end of the year, Boston's going to be after Edwin Encarnacion, and don't be surprised if they give him a David Price, not exactly David Price kind of contract, because David Price is like, that's like top 5 all time or something along the lines of that, but a crazy contract that the Blue Jays are like, yeah, you know what, it's not very bright if we give that to him.
It's kind of weird that you bring that up because I've started to see this pattern where the Yankees buy off the Red Sox and the Red Sox buy off the Blue Jays. Because we had Johnny Damon, Jacoby Ellsbury, and then with the Red Sox, it's mainly just David Price, but thinking back, Marco Scudero and that whole ordeal and whatnot. But it's weird that like everybody in the same division seems to, I don't know if like you want another player because you can see him so often, so and you don't trust your scouting team, or what it is. But it just seems like there's a lot of, necessarily, like mainly between those three teams. Baltimore and Tampa Bay, nobody wants them. I don't know why, but nobody wants to touch them. But it seems to be like with those three teams, they want to kind of trade up.
The interesting thing about that, too, is I think some of them were free agent signings. And the big thing that jumps out to me, don't we consider the Red Sox-Yankees one of the biggest rivalries in sports?
Yes, we
Why
do.
exactly do players go from one side of the rivalry to the other? Do they not, do they lose that hatred because money talks?
Money, 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 money. You know the whole Donald Trump thing, the song? Yeah, that. All right, so back to the normal topic instead of the three-team trio of trades. Josh Tolley, I don't know what exactly happened, Trevor, and I kind of want you to enlighten me on this. The Blue Jays let him go or something, and then they didn't want the Red Sox or anybody to pick him up, so they wouldn't have a weakened squad in the World Series or the playoffs, and then they pick him back up for R.A. Dickey, but they're not going to use him. What's going on with that whole situation?
I'll tell you, for diehard baseball fans, even this can be a little tough to try to explain, but I'll do my best. So pretty much what it was the Blue Jays cut ties with Tolley because they traded for Navarro, and they wanted to have Navarro for that one series because Tolley didn't have to catch Dickey until early September when the rosters expanded. So they let him go, and when the rosters were able to expand, they re-signed him. They re-signed him just in time, so he's still technically playoff eligible if Dickey ends up on the playoff roster, which probably won't happen, assuming this team makes the playoffs, which I probably shouldn't do. But so that it kind of explains the half of the Tolley situation. So they brought him back, and yeah, now because rosters are expanded, he's now obviously allowed to be on the team. And so he's catching Dickey every fifth start, which is smart. I hear Blue Jays fans saying that Deoner Navarro should catch R.A. Dickey, and I don't know how much time we have, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. Deoner Navarro should not catch R.A. Dickey solely because Deoner Navarro is not here for defense. He's here for offense. Russell Martin's a great defensive catcher. He could catch Dickey if it didn't beat him up like it did so much last year. That's the end of my tangent. Deoner Navarro is just not good defensively. I know Blue Jays fans love him. I love him too. But he's here solely to just provide offensively.
That's it for this episode of BSS Sports. My name is Steven Schill. That guy over there is Trevor Struthers. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at BSS Sports. And if you want to listen to previous shows, we are archived on YouTube at BSS Productions. Once again, this is a Tuesday, so make sure to realize it's a Tuesday because we almost forgot. But we will see you next Monday.